Either you or one of the children acts as a robot that follows the instructions of the children. Robots only understand English. It's more fun if the robot walks mechanically. For reasons of safety, when the children are robots, it's often best to restrict what the robots can be asked to do, such as picking up flashcards or something like that. If you are the robot, it's possible to give the children a lot more freedom, even if they tell you to walk into walls and things like that. Blindfold. Divide the children into teams. One child from each team draws an animal with a target next to it. One child from each team is blindfolded and carries a board marker or piece of chalk, and the other children from her team direct her towards the target. The game can be played as a relay. The children may want to say things that they don't know how to say in English. You can periodically pause the game, get the children to take their blindfolds off, and ask the children what they want to know. Please, Simon says. Either you or one of the children gives instructions to the children. If you say please, they follow the instructions. If you don't say please, they shouldn't move. This game is often played with the children who make a mistake being out. Most children will enjoy the game without anybody being out. Statues. The children move around or dance around with some music in the background. Start calling out words from a category such as colors, animals, or fruit. When you call out a word that is not from that category, the children need to freeze. An option is for the children to freeze in a pose that illustrates the meaning of the word you called out. Act out. The children move or dance around with music in the background. When you call out a word or a phrase, they need to dance around, acting out that word. For example, if you call out elephant, they may stomp around. If you call out window, they could mime opening a window. It can be fun to gradually make the words more challenging and, of course, get the children to take turns to call out words. Musical chairs. I expect you know this game. The children walk around a circle of chairs with music playing, and when the music stops, they try to sit down. In the traditional game, the number of chairs is gradually reduced, and the children who can't sit down are out. There are various ways to play musical chairs as a listening activity. With most of these variations, it is not necessary to remove chairs or for children to be out. One way to play is with cards on the chairs. The children need to sit down on cards that fit a category that you call out. They can either sit down as soon as you call out the category or the next time the music stops. This can be used for categories like animals and is also an effective way to practice phonics families. You could call out "ah," and the children need to sit on a picture of a car, a shark, or another card from that phonics family. Or you could call out a word such as tree, and they need to sit down on a picture of a word from the same phonics family, such as bee or chimpanzee. Another way, without cards, is to call out words or read a story. And when they hear words from a certain category, such as colors or words containing the sound R, they need to sit down. They can also sit down when they hear a word that doesn't fit a certain category. For example, you could call out a series of actions and then call out a color. The game can also be played with questions. You can call out a question based on a story, song, or dialogue that the children have listened to. While the children are walking around, you call out various incorrect answers to the question, with humor if possible. When you call out the correct answer, the children need to sit down. Duck, duck, goose. In the traditional game, the children sit in a circle facing inward. One child walks around tapping each child in turn, calling each a duck, until finally calling one a goose. The goose tries to catch the child who tapped her before she can run around the circle and sit where the goose was sitting. One way of playing in the classroom is for you or the children to first decide on a target category, such as fruit, animals, or a phonics family. The child walking around can call out random words that are not in the target category, or call out a sequence, such as numbers or days of the week, and suddenly call out a word from the target category. Red light, green light. In the basic game, the children start on a starting line. If you or one of the children call out green light, the children move towards the finishing line. If you call out red light, they must stop. And if a child is still moving, she must go back to the starting line. There are a number of variations that can work well in an English class. If the children are learning colours, one way is to have a variety of colours that have different meanings. One colour could mean hop, another could mean walk backwards, and so on. Instead of using red light, green light, the game can be used for any pairs of words or categories that the children find it hard to distinguish. For example, words that contain L could mean move forward, and words that contain R could mean stop. Whispering game. The first child whispers a word, phrase, or sentence to the next child, who whispers it to the next child, and so on down a line of children. The last child calls out what she has heard or writes it on the board. This game can be played non-competitively or as a relay race. After each word, the child at the end of the line moves to the beginning of the line. A variation is for the first child to whisper the first letter of a word, and the last child to write it on the board. Then the first child whispers the second letter, until they have spelt a word. Whispering guessing game. The first child in a line of children secretly looks at a word that has the same number of letters as the number of children in the line, and whispers the first letter to the second child. The second child whispers the first letter and what she thinks is the second letter. This continues until the last child calls out what she thinks the word is or writes it on the board. Reporting sentences. The children are in teams. One child from each team listens to a story sentence by sentence in such a way that the other children in her team can't hear. This can be done with headphones, or by being in a different room, or with the teacher whispering sentences to the child. She then tells the other members of her team what the sentence is, or mimes or draws it for the others to guess. Then another child from the team does the same thing for the next sentence, and so on. The aim is for the team to be able to say the whole story at the end. They can either write down the sentences or remember them. Fruit basket. Arrange chairs in a circle. One child sits on each of the chairs, and one child stands in the center. The child in the center calls out something like red skirts, black shoes, or white socks. If she calls out white socks, all the children with white socks have to stand up and race to a different chair. The child in the center also tries to sit down. The child who is left standing up is the next to call something out. This activity can be used for a wide variety of patterns. The child in the center can say, "I have a dog," and everybody who has a dog changes chairs and says, "I have a dog." Or the child in the center can ask a question like, "Who likes ice cream?" or use a pattern like everybody who can play tennis. It very much depends on the English level of the children. I hope you found this series of videos on teaching listening helpful.